welcome to Business Connections, presented by the Dayton Area Chamber of Commerce. I'm Holly Allen. Right now, the unemployment rate in the Dayton region is 4%. That's a full point lower than about 2 years ago. And that means the pressure's on our employers to do everything they can to attract and retain a skilled workforce. And that becomes very apparent to us when we survey our members every year. This year, much the same as it has been the last 4 years or so, our members said the #1 issue they are facing in the coming year is attracting and retaining a skilled workforce. As the Dayton Area Chamber of Commerce, we do everything we can to help them with that. One of the ways we do that is through an event called the HR Forum. That's when we bring together HR experts from throughout the region to share best practices with our employers. Today, my guest is a speaker we'll be hearing from at the upcoming HR Forum on March 27th. I would like to welcome Jamie Bierman. She is Senior HR Advisor at HR Elements. Thank you for being with me, Jamie.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We look forward to everything you have to share. Today, we'll get a little sneak peek, but coming up at the HR Forum where they will get to have the full breadth of your expertise, I guess.
Absolutely.
At the top of the show, I mentioned the unemployment rate in the Dayton region, which is pretty low right now. What does that mean for employers as they try to fill open positions?
Yeah, well, it means a couple of things. So, the first thing that's evident to both hiring managers and everybody in HR is that the competition is tough. You have to be nimble in your recruiting practices, but that comes with caution. You can't be so fast that you're making knee-jerk reactions and hiring maybe the wrong person, or that candidates maybe are accepting your job but not for long. They're just waiting for a better offer to come along. So it's not just about the job anymore. It's about your company, who they are, what do you do for the community, and really how do your employees feel about working there?
Absolutely. So that goes beyond how much does the job pay? What do I have to do for the job?
Right.
Now we're looking at workplace culture. We're looking at things like a benefits package and that sort of thing.
Absolutely.
And I assume that has changed over the years quite a bit.
Drastically. Drastic changes.
Okay, well, we will get into some of those. I want to get into some of the topics what we'll be covering at the HR Forum. They really focus the topics this year on creating a positive work environment. Can you talk about why that might be so important?
Yeah. Well, it sounds obvious, but we spend most of our waking hours at work. So we better be spending them somewhere we like, with people we like, doing something we enjoy, but also how do we feel at the end of the day? Do we feel like we've added value? Do we know how we've contributed to our business, to the strategic plan, and even to the local community? It's so much more, again, than just coming in and punching the clock.
And is that something that businesses take a more formal approach to? How do you create that kind of environment?
Yeah, well, it's kind of two ways. One, it's from having a good group of leaders who are invested in making sure you have a positive workplace environment, a good culture, good employee engagement. But it also takes employees who want to participate in benefiting, one another, benefiting the community, and participating in that engagement strategy. But I think that culture is definitely a top-down, I'll call it an initiative, but it's top-down. Employees are going to see how the leaders of their company behave, treat one another, treat their employees, and what they do maybe when they're not at work.
Okay.
And that all becomes part of culture.
Okay. So if a business leader notices that they have maybe not the best work environment, the best culture, how do you start a movement of an entire culture within your workplace?
It sounds easy, and it's not, but you ask your employees. So one of the best ways to do that is through an employee engagement survey. And they come in all different shapes and sizes, but probably the best process is to do an anonymous employee engagement survey. You're going to focus on some specific things that you really want to know. How do my employees feel about this? So maybe it's about your benefits. Maybe it's about your physical work environment. Maybe it's about the leadership team. Employees, how do you feel? Ask some specific questions. And then definitely have some open opportunities for people to, open comments if it's an online form. But more than that, I think it's ensuring that whatever type of workforce you have, you're ensuring that the survey is easy for them to access, easy for them to complete and turn it in, and that people trust the method that you're using.
Right.
If you do the survey, you have got to make sure that you communicate to the employees why we're doing it and what we're going to do with the results.
Okay.
And you need to share the results with the employees.
Oh, okay. Do you find that in most cases employers that have a poor work environment, do they usually know that's going on?
Sometimes. Sometimes it might be a little bit of that denial from the perspective of, you know, we're kind of between a rock and a hard place here. We're struggling to find employees to fill our jobs, which means a lot more work is falling onto our current base of employees. And we need to get the work done. We may not be able to focus on some of those fluffy or soft type of topics.
Right. And would you say that maybe, I mean, are there signs that you can look for that tell you maybe something's going on here that's culture related?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, certainly employers, managers are going to be able to identify some challenges or potential issues if they have a good relationship with their employees. You know when someone's having an off day, you know when your employees aren't quite themselves. Being able to go up and just say, hey, what's going on? But certainly I think when you see groups of employees maybe spending more time talking than focusing on their work or doing their work, obviously the talking is maybe not a great experience of collaboration.
Right.
They're just chit-chatting. You know, why aren't they focused on what they're here to do? So definitely some signs like that. But employees are pretty open and honest for the most part with their managers and with one another about how they feel every day about coming to work. Certainly seeing an increase in, you know, resignations is a big sign.
Right. One of the things that I think we've heard come up quite a bit, at least in different HR forums, is diversity in the workplace is up. We have a diverse workplace environment in many different ways, whether it's, you know, different ages, the sex of your employees, or you know, different demographics and backgrounds. You are going to be speaking specifically about kind of bridging the gaps between the different generations now in a workplace. Can you talk about what generations are now in the workplace?
Absolutely. So right now we see everything from the millennials to, you know,
which we hear so much about.
Oh yeah, poor millennials. We talk about them so much.
I know.
To then, you know, the Gen X group, the baby boomers, and we still do have some of that veteran population who's really, you know, actively exiting the workforce right now.
Is it unusual to have that many generations in the workforce?
In you know, traditionally, yes. We have many more right now than we've ever had before, you know, in a yearly span of workers.
Okay, and so what are the characteristics? I think you said we hear so much about millennials. Can you start with them and tell us kind of what that generation generally is like?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, millennials are, you know, they're here to do a good job, but they may not be at your organization for long. They're always open to talking and learning about new opportunities, and it's easy for them to move on to the next opportunity. They're certainly developing their career, but they are looking for a work environment for the most part. Again, these are generalizations. Right. We're not describing every individual, but they want to go to an organization where, yes, they're doing what they like, they're you know, feeling like they're making an impact, but also they generally tend to care about what that company does in the community. How are they making the world a better place?
And this is where that culture comes in. Millennials are looking for a company that has that positive culture, it sounds like. That will become more important, I'm sure, because millennials, there are so many of them. And they're, you know, they'll be getting older and taking over eventually the workplace. So Gen X, was that the next one you mentioned?
Yes.
What's Gen X like?
Gen X is more of that open, transparent worker that, you know, they're there, they're driven, they are really actively right now working towards their ultimate career goal. So very goal-oriented towards, you know, that coveted final position or that role they've always dreamed of having. They're very open to and desire feedback.
Okay.
They really like to know, how am I performing right now? This group also really wants work-life balance.
Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah, so we're seeing more of that. You know, I think that's probably where we saw flex time come into the world, is thanks to those Gen Xers who were saying, you know, hey, I need more time with my kids. How
Right.
can we make this work?
Right, because that's the generation that they have families now, so they're focused on work-life balance.
Yeah.
Interesting. So the next group, I'm trying to remember.
Baby boomers.
Baby boomers. Okay, tell me about the baby boomers.
So our baby boomers are traditionally, they're right now really focused on planning for retirement. So they're making sure they have, you know, all their ducks in a row. They're actively working towards, you know, most of them are in their kind of coveted position. We'll say they've worked hard. They believe that you have to earn your place in the workforce. And frankly, when I see different groups right now struggling with one another, it's typically those folks in the baby boomers and the folks who are millennials. The Gen Xers, they're the peacekeepers. We see them in the meetings working together. They want to keep the peace. Frankly, I've even heard scenarios of, you know, somebody who was a baby boomer who was asked to, you know, train up and help a millennial. I'm not here to babysit. So we're seeing some interesting dynamics playing out.
That is, I'm not surprised by that. I think that's been kind of the characteristic that has been played up of Gen Xers, that they're kind of, you know, in the background while the millennials are getting all the attention and the baby boomers not necessarily so happy about the millennials coming into the workplace. So yeah, you can run into some instances where people are butting heads. So you mentioned some of those hurdles they could create. What are some of the tips you could give to employers? How do you create synergy so they can work together when they're coming from such different places?
Yeah. Well, I think it's appreciating diversity, you know, knowing what one another is about. Why is community service so important to this millennial? What has happened? Why are they passionate about it? And, you know, understanding from this baby boomer, well, you know, why is it your belief? Why, you know, tell me what you've done, let me learn from you, and really appreciating that experience. And I always think of the movie The Intern, okay? And, you know, I mean, because it is this multi-generational workforce at its finest. You know, we have this leader of the company riding a bicycle down the hallway, and then our senior citizen intern, who, you know, is from that baby boomer group, you know, in his three-piece suit and tie with his briefcase.
Because to him, that is totally ridiculous, riding a bicycle down the hallway.
Who would do that? It's not professional.
Right.
But what we learned is who each of those people are, who some of the other employees were at the organization. By learning about one another, you understand perspectives, you understand communication style, and really it makes it easy to appreciate and understand where one another is coming from, to ultimately do a really great job together, be extremely collaborative, and solve problems.
Right, because, you know, one of the things we talk about all the time at the Chamber, because we encourage diversity, is actually one of our core values, our core beliefs, encouraging a diverse workforce. And we strongly believe that having a diverse workforce is a positive for the business, because you have all of these different perspectives coming into a project, and you know, you can only come up with a better product if you have people with different backgrounds and different perspectives. So how do you, as an employee or as an employer, how do you get your employees to understand that and open the door for them to realize that maybe they need to put a little effort into working better with their colleagues?
Yeah, I think that certainly it puts, I'll say, some pressure on the managers. I mean, managers need to be aware, but I think it really starts with maybe the kickoff of a project, when you bring that project team together, or maybe it's different employees in a department. The way that you orient and acclimate new team members is huge, making them feel welcome, allowing employees to interact and mentor one another to, you know, become acclimated. That's huge. But then also there's different types of workshops, different team building environments or exercises that you can do to have those workplace learning opportunities. The other thing that I found really helpful is asking employees sometimes to work together to, you know what, hey, put the agenda together for a meeting, or tell me what you guys want to talk about. Everybody has the same opportunity to get that agenda put together, time to share and talk with one of their coworkers. But really, at the end of the day, it boils down to communication.
Communication, which is the key to most things, isn't it? It sounds to me that it's really about respect for, you know, especially for the baby boomers. You know, they've been in the workforce for a long time, and they have become pretty good at their craft in many cases. And I think they want to be recognized and respected for the experience they have, and the, you know, millennials to be open to that and see it as an opportunity to learn, create a better environment for everyone.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Is there anything else that we should talk about that's, you know, that's a hot topic in HR that's trending that you expect to discuss at the forum?
Yeah, you know, I've kind of been wondering, when is this topic going to go away? But I don't think it is. And it's the topic of workplace civility and harassment prevention.
Okay.
We continue to hear it, you know, in popular culture. We seem to not be able to get away from it. But through, you know, SHRM, I continue to hear news stories, and even with different clients and other HR professionals that I talk to, that is still top of mind. And I see workplace civility and, you know, this topic of multi-generational workforce, they really go hand in hand, because at the end of the day, it's what you said moments ago, Holly. We're talking about respect. We're talking about professionalism. We're talking about feeling safe in your workforce. And I'm not speaking about just safe from violence, which certainly that's important, but safe to express yourself and be treated with dignity and respect. So that is a topic that we're going to continue to talk about, I think, for years to come.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's one of those topics you wish that we would be done with, that we wouldn't have to talk about anymore, but I think you're right. It's something that will continue to get our attention for years to come.
Absolutely.
Well, this has been very enlightening, and hopefully our employers will get something out of not just this little teaser, but also the full story, the full gamut that we're going to get at the HR Forum, which is coming up on March 27th. I want to thank you for speaking ahead of time. We look forward to hearing everything you and your colleagues have to say.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
If you would like to learn more about the HR Forum, again, that's coming up on March 27th. Just go to DaytonChamber.org and click on Events at the top of the page. And don't forget, you can follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter to stay up to date with the Dayton Area Chamber of Commerce anytime. I'm Holly Allen, Director of Marketing and Communications at the Dayton Area Chamber of Commerce. Please stay tuned for a quick message from our President and CEO, Phil Parker.
One of the Chamber's greatest services is to help our local businesses benchmark on key elements of their businesses that will fully maximize their potential and that of their employees. Our Chamber is very much engaged in issues involving workforce, human capital development, recruitment, and leadership. Today's program highlighted human relations issues, employee benefits, and other similar programs, all good examples of what will be featured at our annual HR Forum on Wednesday, March 27th. A new program developed by our member leaders through the Executive Women's Council back in 2018 was our Empower program for women leaders. What we discovered was that in our community, we were not supporting the growth and development of future women leaders in the business community, in not-for-profit, and in government. Our current 2018-19 program is actively ongoing, and we are now ready for applicants for our second annual cohort for 2019-20. If you're interested in the best women's leadership program in the region, one designed to enhance the goals of inclusion and diversity, now is the time to visit our website at www.daytonchamber.org and apply for the next program beginning later in 2019. You may want to come to our next informational meeting on Empower Monday, March 11th. We look forward to providing a continued leadership role in many issues affecting employee leadership, benefits, recruitment services, all with the idea of enhancing inclusion in our community while growing people and businesses.